teaching issues and to talk about how to better our teaching in classroom, starting from the competencies and going through individual path. My name is Maria Grazia, which is Grace in English, so you can call me Grace if you want. I'm 55 years old. I'm a teacher. I have a degree in economics, so my first starting teaching experience is was from economic subjects here in Italy, for people, for students from 14 till 18 years old. Starting from this period, I could see that it was very important to me to have some didactical and pedagogical instruments, because in my university I only had technical competencies, and this was the first push to grow towards this path. So by now I'm a counselor, I'm a school counselor, and I join my teaching colleagues towards building individualized path for students, and especially talking about working-based skills, working-based experiences, in order to make them more confident, self-confident towards the work world and towards themselves, starting from what we can do at school. Well, this is for my self-presentation. If you have any question about me, you can write to me, and I give you my personal email here in the chat. mg.cucci@sanzeno, sanzeno.org. And you can write to me and ask whatever question you have about what I'm going to expose. So I would like my lesson not to be unidirectional speech, but to be a comparison of experiences. I noticed from the questionnaire that you completed that there are very young colleagues and very senior colleagues, that you come from different experiences. There are math teachers, economic teachers, language teacher. So it is very interesting to match our experiences in order to grow all together and to have a real opportunity to use what we are going to see in our class, to try and to manage if it is okay or we can better it. So for every lesson, I will give you an exercise, and you can choose if you want to do it on your own, thinking as you are a student, or if you want to use it directly in your class, seeing if it works with your students, what are the results, so we can share immediately our goal. Now I share a presentation that I have for you. Okay. So the first module that was supposed I have to share with you is competence-based approach. Well, all we are going to do is inside this project, Green Vet Africa. So the mission is not exactly um teaching competencies, but is a program about green waste management in Nigeria and Ghana. So it is supposed to be like the basis of what you are going to do in the next future with my colleagues. So what we are going to see today and Wednesday. This is the table of contents that I prepare for both lessons, because I don't know exactly the time we are going to use. So I prefer you to see a larger program than the single day program. We are going to talk about competencies, and especially why it is so important to consider competencies nowadays for our students. Then we are going to classify these competencies. So I know for our teacher is something that is very useful and very normal to make a classification. There are so many classifications, so I choose for you only few of them, the one that I hope will be more useful for you. The latest classification we will see together is the European competency framework. This is a framework that is very near in time, and it is a way that is just a bit different from the normal way to consider classification. Then we will try to find a definition of evidences and meaningful task. Why? Because we want to mobilize skills in our students, and we have to make a relation between the two things. And then there was a big struggle, the big importance that was given in your answer in the questionnaire about assessments. I will propose you a special tool for assessment. The name is Performance. It is a very important tool for assessment of competencies, and it is based on not on a psychological theory, but on a comportamental theory, on seeing how people behave in their life, especially in their work life. You will have the opportunity to do this assessment, and so we will talk about that later, because I would like to know whether you are interested in do this assessment with me. So starting from the very beginning, why we want to talk about skills? Well, the starting time from talking about this issue is the 70s. Before it was rarer. It was more difficult to talk about that, because there wasn't any importance in the economic world. Starting from the 70s, you need to give attention to the skills, because you need them, and they nowadays have a central role all over the world. Whenever I talk with people looking for workers, they ask for specific skills. They want to know whether their future worker, for instance, know English, the English language, if they know how to use the PC, if they know how to answer to the telephone, and all the information are about skills. So this give an increasing professionalization of workers. They are not just workers. I know I talk about workers, which is the normal consequence of what we do at school, because workers are the future of the students, or future students are future workers. You can see it on both sides, and it is important to see that in both sides, because you consider the skills in a different way. We start at the school talking about our subject, but how this subject is going to be implemented in real work, how it is going to be implemented in the industries. We talk about skills because we are living now in a specific period, which is always towards technology. Industry 4.0 is just a name under which we have so many important features. 3D, so I only wrote, for instance, 3D printing and robotics. These are just two of the things that we can see in Industry 4.0. We can have much more about connection, about the Internet of Things, about clouds, about communication between machines, about the thing that we need to have workers that have a clear idea of this situation. So students that have a clear idea of this situation, and coming, of course, back in the route, teachers who have a clear idea on how to use these professionalization skills. We continue to talk about skills because processes are really, really complex nowadays. I imagine that you sometimes go and visit some companies where your students are doing their internship or are going to do their internship. And I always ask the boss, how is going on with your process? How is going on with your production? How is going on with your market?
Yeah, we actually listening.
Thank you. Mm, I heard even a more complex situation. Sometimes they simply give me a summary, but when I ask about processes in order to have a clear comprehension whether our students are able to be in this process with which with the which role, with the which preparation, it is not so easy to understand exactly what they are going to do, not only because it is complex to describe, but also because it is complex to do simply. Then this is another thing that in the company I see. We would like to have flexible workers. We would like to have flexible students. We would like to have an optimal use of our resources, talking about people working with us. Well, this means that the same student, the same worker is able to do different things. It's like to say, well, at school, you can teach whatever subject. It is impossible, and it is not what we would like to do. But competitiveness between companies ask them to have a better use of resources. So it is important to drive them to understand which is the space, which is the range of skills that we can do to the students, and so the students can give them. So this is one another important meaning of skills, of talking about that. Flexibility is not until infinity, but it is very important, a very important meaning in nowadays working market. And so we can consider in which way we can drive this flexibility. For instance, toward different skills and different competencies, not always the technical one, but the personal one. When we are in the labor market, skills are the real object of exchange. Towards we have skills and we have, for instance, earnings to compare, which is the correct level to have the correct revenue and the correct earning. Everything is very connected. As an educational system, we cannot ignore that. We have to consider that and to make that possible, talking even more with the companies and talking even more with the labor market to make them more, to make them know what we study, what our students study at school, what our students are able to do, what our students are simply as a person, as persons, in order to have a correct exchange and a correct continuous line from the school to the labor market. It is not so easy because we are we usually talk in the school about the school, and there are different languages and different importance of what we can do and we can teach to the students towards what students can learn and practice in the labor market. We can try to join the both opportunities to make them at their best, to make the students to be the better worker for their personal self-confidence and for their personal situation. Is there any question or even a suggestion or a comment about that? Do you have any opportunity to go to the companies and to ask them about what skills they need? If you have any information for me or question or suggestion, you can also write to me on chat. So I start again my presentation.
Okay.
Thank you. So let's see some classifications of competencies. So the first one that I choose was developed by the National Institute in Italy for vocational training for workers. They decided just to find these three groups of skills and competencies. The first one is defined basic skills. Well, starting from the voice of the labor market, these basic skills are what it is necessary for citizenship and employability. Languages, not only the mother tongue, but languages. That means that it is normal to have more than one language for the labor work. In Italy, the second language that is very important to have is English. And as you can understand, even from my English, it is not so easy to have it as a very good language. Then the second one is IT. What do you mean by IT? Not only to be able to be on a chat and to send a message, for instance, but by WhatsApp. The IT that is necessary to go to work is, for instance, to know Excel, which is very important to work in a company, to prepare some sheets for summaries, for budgets, for knowing what exactly we are the costs and revenues of the company. It is important to have these skills, and it is considered normal. You cannot go to work and to say, well, I don't use the PC, I don't know to use internet. What I see, for instance, in my students is that sometimes they think to have good IT skills just because they have Facebook. This is not what, of course, companies need. And it is important to make them more confidence about using in a professional way the IT instruments. Another thing that is considered basic skill is something about economics. For instance, knowing the role of banks. For instance, knowing how to use a credit card. For instance, to know that economics and financial features in a company are not the same, and you have to make a clear knowledge about the two, not to be in trouble. Basic skills is also to know something about legislation, especially what kind of legislation. For instance, labor legislation, to know about labor contracts. In Italy, we have a very difficult labor legislation, it is not so easy to know something about the contract, not because you do not have the information instruments, but because you have so many contracts, and you sometimes need to have somebody who is specialized, but at least you have to have a basic information about that. So if you don't have these basic skills, you do not have the minimum required to be a worker. This is very important to know. Then you have the so-said transversal competencies. This is not something that you learn at school. This is something that you also learn at school, but you learn in your life. You learn in your life because it's the way you behave, the way you work at best, the way you show your emotion, the way you apply in your specific work. This is a very big field of interest, and we will talk about it in a very specific way in a few moments. Then you have the technical and professional skills. When you normally read a CV, a curriculum vitae, you normally see a summary of technical and professional skills. Set of knowledge and skills related to effective exercise of certain professional activities in different economic fields. This is the definition. Of course, if you are a student, you do not have already an experience on professional activities. You can say what you have learned about that. You can say what are your general skills. You can say what are your technical skills. This is very important to understand and to define. Sometimes the description is not so accurate. We have to help our students to describe in a more specific way their technical and professional skills in order to be interesting for the labor work. Another important classification of skills and competence is made is the so-called Europass. You see, it is dated 2004, so more or less 20 years ago. The European Commission decided to prepare a unique model, a unique Europass model, in order to have a framework of qualification and a framework of competencies. Why? Well, of course, if you have a greater transparencies, you can contribute to the development of quality of education and training, because all the countries part of the European community can share their different ideas of qualifications and their different ideas of competencies behind the qualifications. Another important thing is to facilitate the mobility. If we decide that, for instance, the result of a diploma is a 4 EQF, European Qualification Framework, this is the same in Italy or in France or in Germany or in all the European companies. It is very good because you do not have to decide which is the level of your competence. Of course, if you have a facilitation in mobility, you also have the opportunity to contribute to foster employment, because you can go where you have the need of workers. You can move where your where the job, where the employment that you decide is disposable. This is another thing that I told to my students. I hope you agree with me. You cannot hope to find the work that you desire near your home. You have to make an active research of the work that you desire, starting from your skills, starting from your talent, and then to find it in the best way. After you have done some experiences, then you can choose in a more serious way, in a more concrete, not concrete, sorry, in a more real way, what you really want to do in your life as a worker. It is easy to understand that thinking about us, because, for instance, when I was young, I wasn't sure I would have liked to be a teacher. And only when I had the opportunity to do that, I decided that this was really my world, and especially the teaching in long life learning, not only to the students. This is for me very important, starting from my own experience. And I try to match that also with my students, whatever, it doesn't matter if they are mechanics or electrician or graphics or in other sectors. So what about European skills qualification? It is different from the one that we see before. The first step are personal skills and competencies. These personal skills and competencies are the one that you acquire during your life, and during your personal life, and during your work life. There is no necessary a diploma or a certificate for these personal skills. Sometimes you have the opportunity to have a certificate about that, but it is not necessary. So if you do not have an official certificate, sometimes it is more difficult to describe. The second group of skills are relational skills and competencies. So this is very clear for us. How do we live and work with other person? How do we live in a multicultural environment? How do we use communication skills in teamworks? We can see it starting from a meeting, or starting from a discussion in our class, or starting even in our family. It is very important to understand our relational skills. For instance, to understand our listening skills. Are we able to use active skills in listening. It is not like to hear, of course, and we all know that it is not the same to hear or to listen. It is important to teach that to our students because when they arrive in the lab of work, it is so important that we are able to not only to hear, but to listen, and so to understand what are the expectations towards them. Then another important group of skills are organizational skills. This is the reason why it is so important, for instance, in a CV, to put also projects, hobbies, and other personal issues in our life, because we can demonstrate by that that we have these organizational skills. For instance, sometimes the students ask me, why do I have to put my sport in the CV? And the answer is, well, what is the kind of sport that you practice? If the answer is, for instance, football, it is important to know which is the role. It is supposed to have some training in a regular way. It is supposed to have a mister. It is supposed to understand that you have a role, and this role is related to all the others. So the future boss in the company can understand that you already have an information about that, and you have the idea of what is a hierarchy. And then on the base of that, you have to be on time at your during your training. You have to have everything with you, your shoes, your team dress. You have to be organized to be able to start everything. And this is, for instance, one of the way our students can check if they have organizational skills. Starting from that, you can understand how to coordinate people and processes, how to coordinate also future colleagues, how to be coordinated by future colleagues. Of course, there are technical skills and competencies, computers, technical equipments, tools. We all know exactly what we are thinking about because sometimes we are teachers in these specific technical fields, and we teach to the students how to use in a best way, in a safe way, these technical equipments. The answer is always, what does the work ask to the students, to the future workers, and so what they ask to us to be to know how to use these technical equipments. For instance, a few years ago, we had the first 3D machine. It was a 3D machine in our school. It was a 3D machine for the use of plastic. We can do some kinds of project and reverse engineering by using this 3D machine. It was very easy. and immediately students were very interested and curious about that. We had to build our competence before starting to use this technical equipment, because it was clear that in the real work they would have asked at least to know what is it or to use it, and going back to the school to be able to learn at least an example of this 3D machine. Well, this is the competence classification that I personally prefer. It is not very old, as you can see, and it was made by two two scientists, Spencer and Spencer, and they called it the Asberg model. The Asberg model says that you, exactly as an iceberg, see what is visible, but you have much more hidden. You have much more inside each person to be understand and to see and to be recognized, at least by the person. At the top, you see what is happening. You see the behavior of the person, what you see, for instance, when students come in your class, when they talk each other, when they talk with us, when they go to the company for a internship. But there is much more hidden, and under the line, you see, for instance, pattern and trend, something that comes from the culture of each person, and that you see only in very specific situation. Even in the lower part of each person, you have the structure. This structure is influencing repeating behavior. This is something that you see only during a time, a long time, not a single situation, but only when you have something that is repeating in the time. I know that you are thinking about maybe about some of your students and the way they behave in class, the way they ask you something, the way they react when they receive a note. It is something that is hidden inside the person. For instance, some of them are used to declare what their emotion, and some of them absolutely not. This is not depending on us, because they are always the same person. The very important thing is not knowing why, because this is the psychologist field. We have to know that it happens, and we have to be aware of what we can do and what to make this something hidden to go up the line, if we want to have a specific influence on the student. At the base of everything, are the mental models. The mental models is something that that can comes from something that happened in the childhood. Uh, we are not in charge to know that. We are we have to be only to be aware of this situation in order to better understand what is in the point of the iceberg. Talking in a more clear way about visible skills, we can see abilities. The ability to perform a given task. Oh, we see that every day at school. We give a task to the students, we give them a homework, we give them something to do, an assessment, an assignment, and we see their ability. It is not always the same one in time. It is not always the same one talking about practical abilities or intellectual abilities or speaking abilities or writing abilities. You have different, all different range. And this is the situation that we can see when we meet in the class meeting of the teachers, and we see our colleagues telling us, oh, these students have a very big ability in my subject, while we think that in our, unfortunately not. The important thing is to know which is the given task, so to have a clear idea of the ability that is necessary for that given task. If it is clearer for us, it is clearer for the students, it is clearer for the future work in order to have the better ability for the given task. Knowledge. Knowledge of specific disciplines or topics. We go to school to study. This goes, it is very easy we know, we all agree about that. The result is not the same for every student. In my module, there is also a specific module. It will be a registered one, in which we are going to talk about difficulties that sometimes students have in studying, in learning. We will talk about, I will talk about the difficulties in learning, in knowledge for each student, and what we can do to go over some of these difficulties, or at least to help students in a specific way, in order to avoid that these difficulties would be permanent difficulty in their work. Another very important visible skill is organizational behavior. This is the way we relate each other. Okay, so teamwork for success is a very important aim that we have at school and that we have after school in the work world. To work in team is an ability. To work in team is something that we can learn, is something that we can better in our life, is something that need to know some rules. Rules, for instance, of listening, rules of exposing what we think about, rules of summary, what it was decided, rule to go from the summary to the final result, making a sort of project management of the aim of the meeting. Of course, this is thinking about important project, not only for an exchange of information, but also even when we talk about an exchange of information, we need to have some rules, and this is exactly what we are going to do in the first exercise that I will propose you after this meeting of today. Then we go to the not visible skills. So the first one, the motivation. Sometimes we see our students to have big intelligence, big opportunities for the work, but a lack of motivation. So the definition of motivation that I propose you, starting from Spencer and Spencer model, is the ability to concentrate on one's efforts in the achievement of one's priority objectives and not to respond to other impulses. It is very important to see what we think about that, because sometimes we have the first thing is a difficulty in defining objectives, then to make them in priority, to decide which is the most important one and the one that can be considered just an opportunity. Okay, then to concentrate on achieving it, and then to be able not to go in another direction while we are trying to achieve our objective. So, for instance, it is important to teach our students how to define an objective. Next time, I want to better my note on this assignment. Okay. Do you want to better your note on 1 point or 2 points or 3 points? In which time and doing what to better it? Because if we do not have a specific idea of what we want to achieve, in what time we want to achieve it, and how, well, it is just a good idea, just a dream, we can say. It is not an objective. So if we want to have a specific objective on which to put a very big priority, we have to start from these 3 points. When we have decided that, we can concentrate on it because we have a timing and because we have a way to be on this goal. Then there is the theme of other things to do other things to achieve while we are trying to have the first goal we decided to join. For young people, sometimes it is difficult not to respond. We have to accept sometimes a specific lack of concentration, because it is not, it depends on the difficulty of the objective, and it depends on the time. During the assessment, we will see that some people are more likely to have long-term objectives, while other people have are better in short-term objectives. This is a specific and peculiar characteristic. It is not something that is, it is very difficult to change it. I don't say it is impossible, but it is difficult, because it's something in which we succeed, starting from our behavior, in the best way. There isn't any motivation of changing it. The thing that we can do is to behave in the way that we have the better result, starting from the way we usually define our objectives. I make you an example. If we are more likely to have short-term objectives, we can concentrate on what we are going to do this week, to start making an agenda, for instance, with very specific timing. Every day I will study 1 hour this subject. In this hour I have to study 10 pages. These are all the example, of course. After these 10 pages, I have to be able to make a summary of what I have done in, that's to say, 30 points, 3 points for each page. This is a short term. If we decided to have long terms, we only have to replicate these short terms in many things, or to have the larger objective and to divide it in shorter period. I have 100 books to read at the end of the month, so that's to say what I should try to do each week, what I should try to do each day, in order to define it in a shorter period and to make it in a way we can see if we were able to achieve. Another not visible skill is trait. Traits are the characteristic we have to react to a certain situation, to react and behave. This is something that can be inside us because it is the way we are, or it can be the result of education. For instance, for some people, it is important to look in the eye when somebody is talking to him or her, while for other people it is important not to do that. Why? For those people who is important to have the direct look, it is because they probably think that if you don't like me in the eye, you are not concentrate on what I'm saying. On the other side, there can be people that don't look you in the eye because they simply respect you. What is the correct one? There isn't any correct one. The important thing is to know what is the education of this, which is behind this behavior. Because if we do not know that, we can go on with our mental thinking, and we interpret the truth inside, and we don't see the truth. We see what we want to see. It is a way of reading reality which is not good, because we do not understand exactly the situation, because it is a not visible skill. Then at the basis of everything is the self-image. So we have values, attitudes, concept, evaluation of oneself. What do we think about ourselves? What do we think are our real value? What do we think are the consideration of ourselves in the social norms, in one's role, in our own role? Sometimes it is difficult for us as adults. For students, it is even more difficult. Because they are growing, and so it is difficult for them to have a real self-confidence starting from their self-image. So I really need from you a feedback about this part. Have you ever tried, for instance, to go to the class and to try to talk about their attitudes, what they think is their best attitude towards the future?
Sorry, please, can you come again? I didn't get the question.
Yes, I can write it on the chat. Have you ever asked to the class what they think about their attitudes? Thank you.
Okay, is it their attitude towards learning, or attitudes towards general behavior as a student in a school?
because of this, my module is based, is supposed to be the base of work-based learning. It is because much towards the attitude at work.
Oh, okay.
So Abiola, the attitude towards learning, what do they ask you?
Okay, you mean how did they answer? Well, on this particular occasion, I think it was a class that was not doing very well. It's a programming course, and uh, for some reason, programming is a particular concept that people find difficult, at least in the beginning stages. So, and the program they are learning in the first place is not even one that is friendly. It's C that they were learning. So, we keep going over concepts over and over again. So, at some point, I started feeling like, man, these guys are not taking things serious. So, I asked them. So, after many attempts at motivation, so I asked them, okay, so even you guys, what do you think about um, your attitude? Because and it was interesting that they started sharing some experiences now. Of course, some of them will say, okay, fine, they are finding this difficult. Some of them are giving up at some point, but actually, a lot of them were actually putting a lot of effort into it. Even narrating how they were spending late nights um, in each other's room just to be able to understand basic concepts. And perhaps that was one of the things that was actually impacting them because they come to class tired from trying to learn concepts overnight. So their assimilation rate coming to class is reduced. So they are just practically managing to even survive the day. And by then, I'm introducing a new concept already. So yeah, the response was good. Okay, I saw the difference because not all of them were making that effort, but a lot of them were practically putting a lot of effort into it. So it simply means that the I have to also now reconsider the approach. Started looking at maybe I was going at too fast a rate, and other things that can actually complement. Well, that was my experience for the class that I asked that question. Anyway.
Thank you, Abiola. It was very interesting. It is a big point also for the other colleagues to try and to see directly the answer of the students, which sometimes are a bit um, curious for us, but also motivating for us because they give you a point on what we are doing. So, Taufik, I have asked them especially when they do what's wrong. I once asked this in order to make them change and for me to know the factors necessary for their actions. So, Taufik, if you want, can you please tell us what are the results, what factors do you discover were necessary for their actions?
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity to explain my point. It's actually as a result of that, I take basic classes or upper basic, prepare them for examination and the like. And I take the mathematics, and some of them give me space not to perform very well, or they fail they find it very difficult to like mathematics as a subject. Meanwhile, they are performing better in other subjects. So after taking them through different stages to make sure to let them understand that mathematics, you are not to be scared of mathematics. It requires a step, and if you have interest in it, you understand it. After explaining, still they find it very difficult to take away that fear that they have in them. And at one point, I gave them a classwork to examine and evaluate what I've taught. Still, some of them, though it's not a general failure, but some individuals that doesn't have interest in mathematics, they still went ahead to perform not excellently. So I asked and I sat every one of them to tell them, what do you think is necessary uh, for your actions? Because I feel that what is wrong. So I was able to realize that one, so we call it arithmetic phobia. They are not happy. They are scared of mathematics. Two is that as a result of what they have heard in the past, maybe from their parents or their mentors or in the society, they view that mathematics is difficult, mathematics is this, you cannot have it, and the like. And that interest of I'm not interested. So those are the factors that they were able to express themselves with after I sat them down to know what is necessary. Thank you.
Thank you to you, really. Thank you so much. It is always difficult for, so mathematics also in Italy is a subject that sometimes for students is considered difficult and far from the work life, which is exactly the contrary, because mathematics is always at the basis of many works, and the difficulty is sometimes to make them understand the uh, the continuous in use of this subject in the work life. Okay. Is there another one? Is there someone else who wants to share his information about his experience about asking students on about their attitudes? Sometimes maybe about work attitudes. What would you like to do in your life? What would you like to be when you will be in the work life? I experienced that, and there was a alpha class that had clear ideas, while the other alpha class didn't have any idea. Sometimes they ask me, well, we want to go on studying. Well, to study what? Well, to study, for instance, engineering. Oh, very good idea. To do what? Well, I don't know. It is strange for us because we see that they do not have any clear idea of their competencies and skills. Please, Elia, I give you the floor.
Okay, yeah. As you just said, we have some of our learners here. See, their parents will ask them to go and then study a certain program, but the learners themselves may not be okay with it. But this has been one of the challenges that some of us are facing here. Then some of them, we talk to them and they understand how the importance of studying that course. Some will continue with it and then love the program that they are doing. Others will go and then eventually draw back because the program didn't help them. So I think when it happens like that, we have to get time for the learners and then explain to them the importance of the program. If they understand and are willing to take that program as their future career, we have to encourage them. If they still don't want it, I think parents must be aware so that they discuss with them and do what is right for their kids. This is what I want to say.
Thank you very much. I do agree with you, absolutely. It is very important to check that while they are doing their path, their school path. Okay, so Ibrahim, please, I give you the floor.
All right, thank you very much, Madam. Let me hasten to add to what my colleague just said regarding the career opportunity or job opportunity after senior high or technical school. Basically, what we are introducing here is in the upper primary, when they are about to vacate, majority of the trainees or students will be asked to dress based on your future career. You see, majority of them will be dressing in a lawyer dressing, doctors, nurses. Hardly do you see engineer or technical expert. Let me put it that way. So what we are putting in place is now before they write their final exams, that's the basic education certificate, that's the BECE, which is from the upper primary or junior secondary school to the second circle, which involve the secondary education and then technical and vocational, that's the TVET. We normally send a team, a counselors around to the other schools to educate them so that they have a clear understanding or perception, the bad perception they have about the TVET will be clear off through counseling. By so doing, their parents are also brought on board to educate them, for them to have a better understanding of TVET education. Other than that, people might be choosing courses that they are not familiar with, that they don't know. Some people, I met a colleague somewhere 2005 at Takoradi. Yeah, my Takoradi Polytechnic education. Yeah, I met a friend. He was blaming his uncle that he was not happy. Why should the uncle send him to technical school to be a welder? So he should have sent him to senior high school so that by now he will be a lawyer by profession. He become a minister of state, something of that sort. But currently, as I'm speaking, that my colleague is at the United States, one of the multinational companies doing welding. Last time when I was talking to him, I said, ask him, oh, how is your job? He said, oh, Ibrahim, I'm really sorry for insulting my uncle because I'm really enjoying welding. It's one of the finest. You see, so basically, if he was to get a good orientation, someone has to take him through induction about the courses or the program that he wants to take. It will have been clear for him to understand it. One of the best profession in engineering is one of the best aspect of career is the technical vocational education aspect. So that is the little I will say for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you very much. Isaac.
Okay. We are also preparing some students, or sorry to say, we are admitting some students, sorry. And you realize that some people don't want to offer a course like construction due to the fact that they think it is very difficult. You see the nature of the work as a very difficult work. That we're able to convince and also develop some interest for them. So we're able to get some of the students that before they realize, they see that they choose or they offer a very good course because of the nature of the work. People are getting job because every here and then we are building and the construction is going on. So before they realize, they find themselves that they have a very nice area and they are making money. That is what I also want to see.
Thank you, Isaac, for sharing that with us. So I will go through the last part of my presentation. So the European Competency Framework, this is the latest framework that was prepared. And you have something that is just a bit different from what we have seen by now. So the first ability, which is considered very important, is communicated in the mother tongue. It is maybe for the young people always using internet, always using the WhatsApp, talking one to the other. Sometimes the listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills are not at best as they are needed in the work. We see that at school, we see that in working situation, we see that in everyday life. It is important to have to teach the students to express concepts, facts, opinions in oral and written form. And after that, we can exercise the communication skills, which are the most important to show trust, to show respect, to understand people, to share ideas in a good way, to solve problems, using the way that the ways that we have to communicate. That's to say, to listen, to speak, to read, and to write. Then the second very important skill that is underlined but is by this latest classification is learning to learn. We know that there isn't any job that is fixed in time, that is always the same in the future. So we have to be prepared and to prepare students to learn, to continuous try to organize their specific learning, to have to find information, to manage the information, both individually and in groups, because sometimes it is enough to go on upskilling our own information, our own skills, but sometimes it is not enough because we need different and various competencies in the same team, and we have to collaborate to learn. So for this reason, it's so important to have a creative thinking, to find new ways to join this objective, this goal, to have a critical thinkings. These are the 4 C: critical thinking, creative thinking, communicating, and collaborating. Then we have the third important skill, social and civil competencies. the civic learning, we in Italy we have this as a subject. It is not only 5 or 3 years ago. The ministry decided that it was an official subject. It was official when I was a child, and then it disappeared. Starting from a few years ago, it was clear that we cannot leave this subject as something that you can do if you have a good feeling, if you think that it is interesting for you. It is necessary to have it because the social life and the working life match together, and the great troubles that we have during the COVID period, in which we had to stay at home for 6 months in Italy, and also after that we have a great restriction of social life, gave a very big importance on civic learning, on civic competencies. We have to be equipped to be part of a civic and social life, to know how to behave, to know how to deal with different societies, to know how to solve conflicts where necessary. And then the last important skill is spirit of initiative and the capability to be entrepreneur of ourselves. This is the ability to be creative in every context, to put innovation in what we are doing. We can find also small innovation. We can start from doing things in a different way instead of doing new things. But in every case, in every situation, it is important to have the ability to manage this innovation. So the core competencies of entrepreneurship are risk thinking abilities. You know that if you do something new, you can fail. How do you accept failing? How do you accept not to be at the standard of doing things in the comfort zone? Out of the box thinking and creativity. It is strictly related to risk taking abilities. How do you be a problem solver? A problem solver is somebody that is looking for a new way or an old way, it doesn't matter, a way to solve a problem. Not just to put it on the table, but also to bring some opportunity to go over it. This means taking initiative. This means to be persistent, because sometimes when you try a new way, it is not the easiest thing to do. This means to be able to make other people join your idea, to persuade them in a positive way, of course. This means to be able to have, again, critical thinking skills and business management skills. When we talk about business management at school, we do not have to think about the way we expertise that in a company. It is business management also when we try to improve skills, for instance, by making a specific course, by making a specific, sorry for that, I cannot stop my fixed telephone. Next time I will give it, I will put it in another room, sorry. Okay, when we have seen these European skills, we can think about meaningful tasks which are related to these skills. I would like to go through this topic next time to you on Wednesday. While right now, I would like to propose two things. So the first one is an exercise that I prepared about competencies in school, something that you, maybe if you desire it, could use directly in your classroom. I will show you immediately. So I propose you this exercise. While you are doing it, I ask you please to think to be a student, to be in his or her shoes. Or if you can, you tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, so on Wednesday, you can try to do it in your class. So what I propose is that to give this as an assignment to the students. Starting from the list in table 1, underline the skills that you think you have. Before starting, you can ask your teacher about the terms that you do not know. So, for instance, I am a student and I say, well, I have a good innovation, and then integrity, and then optimist, and then generosity. Choose your 3 best skills and make for each one an example for your school life. For instance, coping with stress. I copy with stress in class while having a difficult assignment. For the 3 best skills, they have to think about a specific example, not a generic one, something that they really experience. Then I would like the student to make a comparison between their school life and their future internship. So the use in work life. Think into your future internship, find the most important skills to use during it. They do that on their own. Then they have to work as a teamwork. In small groups, I propose maximum 5 students. Each student has to compare his or her personal list with the classmates and to obtain a unique list. They have to negotiate. Of course, while negotiating, they have to give a reason of their choice. For instance, one say, for me, the first skill is punctuality, while the other one say, no, for me, the first skill is confidence. They have to find an agreement on that. Of course, while they do that, you can go through the groups, through the teams, and to see what is going on. You will see for sure the evidence of a leader between the group. You can see the way they negotiate. They can be more likely to be enthusiastic, or they can be more to be determined. And then at the end, each group has to choose a spokesperson and to propose the list to the rest of the class in order to give an evidence of their discussion. In my opinion, you need at least 1 hour to do that. I will give you this exercise inside the chat, in the chat, and I will also put it in the I have some trouble with my computers. I will also put it in the folder when you have the rest of the material of the course. And then another thing that I am going to ask you is whether you are interested in the assessment. What is the assessment like? You have a test. You need a quarter of hour, more or less, to have this test. The test is in English, of course. After that, you will receive from me a report which is very, very specific for you. And I would like to try to do that because it is so important to see the result of an assessment knowing yourself, so you can understand whether this instrument could be interesting for your students or not. I have it as a counselor for my students. I use for them in the last years when they are finishing the secondary school. If you want to do the assessment, you please write to me by this evening. So I write it in the chat. If you desire to make the assessment, please write to my email.
Sorry, I can't see the charts.
Okay. And now, do you see it? Can you see it?
Yes, yes, I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you to you. So I see, Ibrahim, you have your hand raised. Okay. So it is all for today. I thank you for your attention, and I will.
Sorry,
Ibrahim, do you have a question for me? Please.
it's not Ibrahim, it's Abiola.
No so
So
Viola.
yes. Now on the exercise that you proposed initially,
Okay.
I wish you could actually bring it up again. Now, there was a particular, I think it was activity 4 now, the part where the student actually brainstorm and then agree on the particular, I think is it skills, yes, that in particular order. Now, before then, activities 2 has to do with 3 skills. Then activities 3, if I'm not mistaken, has to do with 10 skills that they think will be valuable for their internship. Now, my question is for that activities 4, is it in relation to activities 2 or activities 3? Because are they supposed to compile a list from the 3 skills that you initially requested from point 2, or from the 10 skills you initially requested from point 3? That's one. Then the second thing is there a limit to the number? Because you said they will have to negotiate and then give the reason why maybe they consider the guy that is conceding why they're now going to this particular one. So if they are going to do that, is there a maximum number of skills now that they will have to present to the class? Those are my questions.
Thank you, Abiola. So there isn't exactly a maximum question. The maximum that I propose is 10 skills because of timing. Because if you put a longer list, you don't finish the activity simply. So you can also choose to have a shorter list. So I give you the opportunity to practice it in class because it is important to see the reality of that. I think it a very, very useful exercise to make clear what are the competencies of the students. Because if they can choose an example, a specific example of the skill, and then to think of what they should do in work, it is important for them and for you to see if they have a real idea of what they need. But maybe they do not have any. It is not sure. It works even if they do not have it, because you know that you have something to do to close this gap, while you should find that they have a very clear idea, even if they do not have the skill. So for instance, they see I should be punctual, but they are not. It is a good idea because they know that they need to have it, and you have to make them put as an objective with specific measuration, timing, and way to join this goal. I hope it was a good answer for you, Abiola.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Thank you. Isaac, I see you have an answer.
No, it's not an answer, it's a request. If you can get reading material so that we can read on our own.
Absolutely, yes. I ask Benedetta for that. If it is easiest to send you an email with the material, or if you have the opportunity to go to the folder online when I'm going to put everything.
Okay. So
Okay, thank you,
from now
madam.
you should, yes. Hello. So from now you should be able to download the resources of the course on the website. Let me check. Anyway, what I was thinking is that I can send you by email all the instructions. So the website where you can find the resources, and also was thinking to create a Google Drive folder where you will be able to find all the resources, also Maria Grazia's contact, and all the exercise and the assignment that will be updated along the training duration.
Very well, madam.
Okay.
Hello?
Please, Ibrahim.
Yeah, thank you so very much for your time. Please, may I know the deadline for the submission of the assignment? You gave a deadline for the submission of the assignment, the exercise one, to be precise. When is the deadline, please?
I would like you to do the assignment before Wednesday, so we can check our experiences and share them. If you can, if you are not, if it is impossible for you because, for instance, you do not have the class or you do not have the time, it is okay for me. It is only an opportunity. While for the other thing, the assessment, if you would like to do the assessment, I have to send you an email with a link for the assessment, and I need to know that by this evening, please.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. So if there isn't any question, I say you goodbye. Have a nice evening and see you on Wednesday.
Which is tomorrow? No.
I will see them on Wednesday, while tomorrow there is
Okay, tomorrow there is Marco. Maybe.
Marco.
Okay.
You will meet Marco tomorrow and me on Wednesday.
Okay, great.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, madam.
Bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.